Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Today I thought I would do a video on the Fatboy. And I wanted to do a review of my Fatboy. As I've had it now for a few months, I think I can confidently give you an opinion on it. And I want to go through the bike because if you're on the fence about buying a Fatboy, maybe this video will help you out. So let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to look at is the overall design of this bike. Now this is a Softail, it is a cruiser, and this bike underwent a change in 2018, different frame. One of the other things they did was they put this big nacelle on the front. Before you just had a straight headlight sitting out in front. I like this design much better, actually. Also, one of the big changes they did was the fenders. The fenders, they've kind of went and bobbed them, chopped them if you want. The old fenders kind of were longer, had the sweep to the back, and they did this on both the front and the back. I like it, almost a little bit of a less is more type thing. The paint on this bike is a blackjack metallic. I'm not sure how well it'll pick up on camera, but it's almost a black when it's in the shade. When you get it out in the light, it's almost a bit of a purple. And I really like it. Of course, you've got to pay a little bit extra if you don't go with just the straight vivid black. For the 2021 year, as you can see, they've totally chromed everything out. Years prior, it was kind of that satin chrome finish. I like the chrome much better than the satin. In my opinion, a Fatboy should be chrome, and I really like what they've done with this bike. Also, for 2021, and actually I believe 2020 as well, is this bike is only available in the 114 engine, where years before they could also have the 107 if you wanted. I should also add the Fatboy comes in at a running weight of 699 pounds. All the specs are going to be in your manual. Now, the wheels on this bike. Now, the front, it's a 160 Michelin Scorcher. The 160 is a little bigger than they had in some of the previous older models. It's on an 18-inch rim, and these are Lakester tires, or sorry, rims, I believe they're called. Very nice. They are a little bit harder to clean in the cutout areas there. And I should apologize because this wheel, actually all my wheels, aren't that clean right now. One thing I have heard people say on the internet is that you get blown around in the wind more on these, with these rims. I would say I've never experienced that. I think it's a matter of physics. If you have a different style rim or spoked, I mean, when that thing's spinning, I don't think there's any air going to get through there. And if you don't believe me, try sticking your finger in there when it's running. At the back, we've got a 16-inch rim, I believe, and a big 240 Michelin Scorcher tire. And I really like the stance of these. They're thick, they're beefy. I really like the way it looks. Now, I've also heard people talk about possible handling issues. I have not noticed that whatsoever. Now that could just be because the bikes I generally ride are bigger tired bikes like the Fatboy. So I haven't noticed anything. I've had no problems with higher speed or low speed turning. no real problems with handling at all, actually. Lighting wise, we've got this big day maker right in the front in that nice nacelle that I like so much. And we've got, of course, our regular signal lights for each side. Amber lenses. You can obviously get lenses to smoke them out, different colors, things like that. On the back, we've got our red turn signals, our tail lights. One thing I do like is they went with a smaller little tail light, and I like that a lot better than that big bulbous one they used to have. Now you can change the colors on these lenses, but one thing in Saskatchewan anyway, by our regulations, they're supposed to be red. I don't know how bad the cops will actually look into that, but if you're looking to get a motorcycle insured and they do an inspection on it, you will fail. Now, as far as our electrical goes, this is a keyless ignition. You will get a fob just like this. As long as it is in range, you won't have a problem. This is actually the first bike I've had that's used just a fob. You have your controls, of course. We have our off, run, hazards. This is your ignition, turn signal, of course. Come over to the other side. We've got our lights, turn signal, horn. Now this is to toggle through your dash. So if we turn it on, you'll see all the lamps there. We simply go over to our switch and we can start going through everything. And there you go. A lot better than what they used to have. That's for sure. Now the one thing about this bike that is a little bit curious to me is that they do not have cruise control on this, which is almost surprising to me, but obviously you can get it aftermarket. But I thought that would have been something that they could have done. Also, the battery for this bike, on the older models, they used to be right under the seat. Now, your battery is going to be located right behind this guy right there. And as well, I would highly recommend a battery tender, or else your battery will go dead. The plug-in for which is right here. At least on this model, it's right here. Now, suspension for this bike. This is definitely the smoothest bike I've ever ridden as far as Harleys go. The shock on this one is there's one shock and it is right underneath the seat. And the nice thing about this model and some other models is you have this right here. And that adjusts your suspension. So you can do it on the go. It's just as easy as turning the knob. Now, all your specs for that based on your weight are going to be in your owner's manual, and mine is actually set up a little higher for my weight, but that's just the way I like it. But it's definite improvement over what they used to have. Now let's get into braking, and on the Fatboy you've got the single disc up front and the same in the rear. Now there's been a little bit of a contentious issue on these brake rotors. Now these are floating rotors, and depending, they move. They will clunk. They will make a noise sometimes, that clunk when you do use the brakes. My bike does it, both front and back rotors do it. I've talked to 2 different Harley dealers and they both say the same thing. That's just the way they're made. Online, you can you can discuss that, and depending on who's making the video and whose comments, they'll say it's fine, don't worry about it, it's just the way it is. Other ones are like, no, this is the problem, it needs to be changed. But I'm not going to litigate that again, because I have made a few videos already on it, as well as some other people. But both rotors do clunk. They are a floating disc, and that's kind of just the way it is for right now. The dealers around here, at least, they wouldn't do anything warranty-wise, but I have had no problems with braking, I'll also mention, and I have had to slam them on a couple of times pretty quickly. So I've had no issue with them otherwise. Now we come to the exhaust on this bike. Like pretty much every Harley, it is very quiet, and the first thing anybody I know and myself do when they buy a Harley Davidson is change the exhaust. So I actually went the cheap route here, and I've got just slip-ons. They're Vance and Hines 300 eliminators. I did do a video about pulling the packing out from around the baffles to get some more sound out of them. If I had to do it again, I would probably go with something like the Vance and Hines Big Shots. Those are the ones that I like way better. But it's the same as every Harley exhaust. It's going to be quiet until you change it out. Now, as for fuel, this is of course fuel injected, and it comes with the basically standard 5-gallon tank. This is your filler if you're not familiar. This on the side is just decorative for symmetrical value, so make sure you always take this one off. Like I said, 5-gallon. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. Now, this is the stock seat that Harley Davidson has for their Fatboys. It is actually a firmer seat than I'm used to on their other Fatboys, which actually makes it a little bit more comfortable. But being a stock seat from Harley Davidson, I will admit that after probably about 40 minutes in the saddle, your ass is going to start getting sore. This is a 2-piece seat. You can slide the other piece on here for your passenger. As I don't usually have passengers, I just take it off. Also, it has this, if you can see it, kind of a plastic film, and that's just to protect the back fender from any scratches when you actually have the passenger seat on. Now, you can't really see it a little bit from a distance. I don't mind it at all. It doesn't bother me any, but you can get a back fender bib for these if you don't like the look of that. Now let's get to the part that pretty much everybody wants to talk about, and that is drivetrain. So this motorcycle is a 114 cubic inches. It is a Harley Davidson Milwaukee 8. The reason it is called a Milwaukee 8 is because there are 8 valves, 4 in each cylinder. And the other change about this is you now have 4 spark plugs that are, 2 of them are right directly under the tank. So if you're not doing the spark plug change, your bill's probably going to go up. You have a ventilator air cleaner here. This is actually a high flow air cleaner kit here. So if you wanted to do a stage 1 like I've done on this bike, I just put the K&N filter in. You don't need the whole kit. If you just like the look of the stock bike, just get that air cleaner. Now, of course, if you're stage 1ing it, it's going to need a tune, and I have done a whole video on the tuner issue. You can basically only use the Pro Street tuner that Harley puts out if you want to save your warranty. Also with this bike, this is a 6-speed transmission, constant mesh, foot shift, of course. I've had no issues with engine or transmission. This engine definitely puts out the power. Even just stock, it will put you back in your seat if you really goose it. I believe it puts out about 90, like low 90s horsepower, and I am sure that is measured at the crank and not at the back wheel. The one thing I did like that they did with this bike was they changed where the oil tank was. So the oil tank on the older models used to be right here, and there's nothing more you want under your crotch than boiling hot oil. So Harley put it down here, and of course here's your dipstick. That was a good idea. However, I don't know if you can see it, this dipstick does kind of seep. I don't really actually like the cap. It seems like it's too loose. I don't know if that's supposed to help with venting or if it's just made that way, but I thought they could have did a better job with that. Other than that, it was a good design, because if you had a twin cam, you had a hell of a lot of heat coming off that engine. So this is a lot cooler engine, especially when you have hot oil at the bottom of the bike rather than right under your seat. Now also with this bike, it comes with the stock oil cooler. Another good design, good idea. I'm glad Harley went ahead and did that. But I've had no problems with the engine. I will mention with the Stage 1 as well, because you're just using the Pro Street tuner, and it has to be EPA compliant, you are not going to get the bang for your buck out of your Stage 1. I will tell you that right now, because obviously I've just used this Pro Street tuner one, and I've also used the old orange Super Tuner back in the day when you still could get those. And there is a lot more power coming out of that orange tune than there was with this one. The only thing I really notice about this one is it gets up to speed just a wee bit quicker, but it's kind of up to you whether you're willing to spend the money on that. I don't know, I didn't notice that big of a change with the Stage 1, just with the slip-ons, the air cleaner, and the Pro Street tuner. Now I just wanted to show this shot here just because I just love the way this stance is. It's just big and beefy and wide, and I love it. So there you have it, guys. That's basically the bike in a nutshell. I mean, I would definitely recommend this bike. I love the bike. I would buy it again. Every bike has its own little issues, but this bike, for me especially, I'm more of a cruiser guy more than a bagger guy. I very much like it. It is a smooth ride. It is a powerful ride. It's not going to be sport bike fast, obviously. It's a little on the heavier side at the 700 pounds, but all in all, I love the bike. It's a great bike. I would recommend it. I would buy it again, and hopefully this helps somebody if they're maybe on the fence whether they should get one. I don't think you'd go wrong with the 2021 Fatboy. So anyway, that's it for today, and till then, see you later.